Welcome to Radiant Wisdom, a place where stories aren't just told, but felt. Here we explore life's profound truths, the lessons often hidden beneath our daily routines, and the quiet wisdom that can illuminate even our darkest paths. In today's fast-paced, convenience-driven world, it's so easy to find ourselves leaning on things outside of us, people, possessions, routines, without even realizing it. We chase moments of comfort and assurance, thinking they'll protect us from the chaos of life. But sometimes, life has a way of taking away the very things we thought we couldn't live without. And in that fragile space of uncertainty, we're left with one question: without this, who am I? Today's story is about dependence, not just on the obvious things like money, success, or love, but also the subtle ways we lean on crutches disguised as solutions. Maybe it's the habit of always seeking validation from others before making a decision. Maybe it's the constant distraction of scrolling through endless feeds to avoid the discomfort of silence. Maybe it's convincing ourselves that someone else's opinion of us matters more than our own. But what if we stopped for a moment and asked ourselves, who am I beneath the noise? Beneath the fear of being without? Our story begins with a blind boy, a simple yet powerful reminder of how easy it is to trust the things we hold, without questioning whether they're holding us back. This tale isn't just a story of one boy's journey. It's a mirror, a reflection of the ways we all carry lanterns through life. Lanterns that make us feel seen, safe, or secure, but lanterns that, if relied on too much, can also blind us to the strength we already possess. So, as we begin this journey together, take a moment to breathe. Let the noise of the world settle just for a while. This is your space to reflect, to question, to grow. And if this resonates with you, if you've ever felt lost when the light of someone or something was taken away, remember that you're not alone. There's wisdom in the challenge and strength in the stillness. Don't forget to like this video, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe for more stories that nurture your mind and soul. You never know who might need a reminder today that their light still shines, even when their lantern seems to flicker out. Now let's dive into today's story. Have you ever leaned on something so much that you forgot how strong you actually are? Maybe it was a person, a belief, or even a habit that you thought you couldn't live without. We all seek comfort, sometimes in the people we love, the tools we use, or the routines that make life feel predictable. But what happens when the things we depend on vanish? Let me share a story with you. Once, there was a young blind boy who went to visit a friend. Time passed, and the sun quietly dipped below the horizon. Concerned for his friend's safety, the host handed the boy a lantern and said, "Take this. It will help others see you in the dark." The blind boy laughed. "What good is a lantern to someone who cannot see?" The friend smiled. "It's not for you to see, it's so others can avoid you." The boy nodded and took the lantern. He stepped boldly into the dark, comforted by the idea that the light would guide others. But as he walked, someone collided with him. Both fell to the ground in a tangle of confusion. The boy, now angry and in pain, shouted, "Why didn't you avoid me? Can't you see my lantern?" The other person chuckled and said, "Your lantern? It's been out for a while now." The boy froze. The light he had depended on was gone, and in that moment he realized something profound. He had ignored the inner skills he had spent years honing, the ability to navigate the world with his own sense of strength and awareness. Instead, he had put all his faith into something external, something fragile, something that could be extinguished without warning. We all carry our own lanterns. For some, it's the approval of others, a need to be liked, praised, or validated. For others, it's financial security, believing that more money will shield them from every storm. Or perhaps it's relationships, a fear of being alone that convinces us we're incomplete without someone else. But here's the truth. Everything external can fade, break, or burn out, and when it does, if we haven't strengthened our inner foundation, we collapse too. Let's take a closer look at 3 ways this dependency manifests in our lives. Emotional dependency. Emotional dependency is one of the most common yet invisible crutches we lean on. We often don't realize how much of our emotional well-being is tied to external sources, whether it's the validation of a loved one, the praise of a boss, or the comfort of being in a relationship. These emotional lanterns make us feel safe, seen, and supported. But what happens when they flicker out? Think about it. How many times have you waited for someone else to make you feel okay? When you're upset, do you instinctively reach for your phone to call a friend or scroll through social media, hoping for some distraction? When you're faced with a hard choice, do you trust yourself, or do you search for reassurance from others before making a move? It feels good to be comforted. After all, we're wired for connection, and there's nothing wrong with seeking support. But emotional dependency becomes a problem when we need someone else to stabilize our feelings, when we can't find peace without their presence or approval, when we believe that we can't feel whole unless someone reassures us. That's when dependency turns into a trap. Imagine being on a boat, lost in a storm, and relying solely on another ship's guiding light to navigate your way. What if that ship sails off into the distance? What if it capsizes? Do you let yourself drift, helpless and scared? Or do you learn to read the stars and trust your own compass? Emotional resilience is like having that inner compass. It gives you the ability to stand steady, even when the guiding lights around you go dark. In life, the guiding ships we lean on can be anything: romantic partners, family members, friends, mentors. And sometimes we anchor so deeply to their support that when they're no longer able to give it, we feel like we're sinking. We begin to question our worth. Was I ever really strong enough on my own? Can I handle this without them? The truth is, you can, but it starts with small acts of self-trust. Emotional resilience isn't about shutting people out or going it alone. It's about knowing that you're capable of staying afloat, even when no one else is there to throw you a lifeline. Take a step back and ask yourself, do I believe that my emotions are valid, even when no one else acknowledges them? When I'm hurt, do I rush to be fixed by someone else, or do I give myself permission to sit with that discomfort and listen to what it's teaching me? Am I constantly seeking reassurance because I'm afraid of making the wrong choice, or because I don't trust my own judgment? These questions aren't easy to answer. They require honesty, and honesty can be uncomfortable, but discomfort is part of growth. The more you practice self-compassion, the less dependent you become on others to regulate your feelings. Instead of thinking, I need someone to make me feel okay, you begin to tell yourself, I am enough, just as I am. You stop fearing solitude, because you learn that your own company can be one of your greatest sources of peace. At its core, emotional independence isn't about isolation, it's about balance. It's knowing that while others can walk alongside you, they aren't responsible for carrying you. And when you free yourself from the weight of needing constant validation, you open yourself to a deeper kind of connection, one that's rooted not in dependency but in mutual strength and respect. Ultimately, the strongest lantern you can carry isn't the light that others give you, it's the quiet glow that comes from within. And that glow becomes brighter every time you trust yourself to weather life's storms. Material comforts. Material comforts have become the modern world's most alluring lanterns. We're surrounded by conveniences designed to make life easier. Smartphones that give us information in seconds, apps that deliver food with the tap of a button, and entertainment at our fingertips to fill every quiet moment. And for a while, these things make life feel smoother, safer, even more exciting. But here's the question: when we strip away all those conveniences, who are we underneath? There's nothing inherently wrong with enjoying comfort. It's natural to want a life that feels pleasant and predictable. But the danger comes when these conveniences become emotional crutches. Think about how often you reach for your phone when you're bored, anxious, or lonely. How often do we scroll, binge watch, or shop to avoid discomfort? When material comforts become more than tools, when they start to feel like essential parts of who we are, that's when dependency starts to creep in. Picture someone who prides themselves on their independence but can't go a day without their morning coffee, their carefully curated morning routine, or their favorite playlist on the drive to work. What happens when one of those things is unavailable? Suddenly their day feels off, their mood sours, and the smallest inconvenience becomes overwhelming. They're not addicted to coffee or music, they're addicted to the comfort those things provide. Now, imagine a power outage lasting for days. The fridge stops humming, the Wi-Fi cuts out, there's no more streaming shows or online distractions. At first it's an inconvenience, but as the hours stretch on, that small inconvenience can morph into a sense of loss. Because we're so used to the noise and convenience that we don't know what to do with the silence. The absence of these comforts forces us to confront ourselves, our boredom, our thoughts, our discomfort. And yet there's something profoundly powerful in realizing that we can survive without the things we thought were indispensable. When you're standing in a quiet room with no screens, no noise, just you and your thoughts, you discover something surprising. Simplicity is not emptiness, it's clarity. The truth is, material comforts, no matter how luxurious or convenient, are inherently unstable. Things break, batteries die, money comes and goes. We've seen stories of billionaires who lose everything overnight, or people whose luxurious lifestyles still leave them feeling hollow. Why? Because when your sense of security is tied to something external, you live in constant fear of losing it. You chase more of it, hoping that the next purchase, upgrade, or achievement will finally bring peace. But it never lasts. So how do we break free from the illusion that material comforts equal happiness? It's not about rejecting technology or giving up your favorite creature comforts. It's about cultivating gratitude and resilience alongside them. Here are a few ways to start. 1. Practice mindful minimalism. Instead of accumulating things out of habit, ask yourself, does this truly add value to my life, or am I just filling a void? 2. Embrace moments of discomfort. Set aside intentional moments where you go without your usual comfort. A day without social media, a walk without your headphones, a meal without your favorite condiment. These small acts strengthen your ability to be content without excess. 3. Focus on experiences, not possessions. Memories, connections, and inner peace can't be taken away in the same way objects can. Build a life rich in experiences that shape who you are, not just what you own. The reality is, material comforts will always have their place in our lives. They're tools, conveniences, but they're not the source of our joy or strength. True security comes from knowing that even if the lights go out and the noise of the world fades away, you have the ability to find calm within yourself. When we stop relying so heavily on the lanterns of comfort and start trusting in our own adaptability, we discover that simplicity isn't a burden, it's freedom. The less we cling to, the more space we create for what truly matters: presence, connection, and peace of mind. At the end of the day, life will strip away some of our comforts, whether we're ready or not. But when it does, you'll find that the glow of your own resilience shines brighter than anything money could buy. Spiritual bypassing. When life becomes overwhelming, many of us seek solace in something greater than ourselves, a sense of purpose, faith, or spiritual understanding that can guide us through our darkest moments. Spirituality, in its purest form, is meant to ground us, helping us find clarity, resilience, and peace. But like any source of comfort, spirituality itself can become a crutch when we use it to avoid confronting our true struggles. This is what's known as spiritual bypassing. So what exactly is spiritual bypassing? It's when we use spiritual ideas or practices to avoid dealing with difficult emotions, painful experiences, or personal responsibility. Instead of doing the inner work required for real growth, we hide behind phrases like, "everything happens for a reason," or "I just need to stay positive." On the surface, these statements may seem wise, but they can also mask our discomfort and prevent us from facing hard truths head-on. Imagine someone who experiences profound heartbreak, but tells themselves, "It's all part of the universe's plan," without giving themselves the space to grieve, feel their pain, and process what went wrong. Or someone who's constantly mistreated by others, but convinces themselves that this is a lesson in patience and forgiveness, while avoiding the difficult but necessary conversations about setting healthy boundaries. At first, this type of bypassing feels reassuring. It allows us to stay in a comfortable zone of spiritual safety, rather than face uncomfortable emotions like fear, anger, or sadness. But over time, it weakens us. Instead of building resilience, we become more fragile, unable to process setbacks, grief, or disappointment in a healthy way. We become so attached to the idea of being spiritually strong that we forget that true strength comes from integrating all of our experiences, not avoiding them. True spirituality isn't about suppressing pain, it's about transforming it. Growth doesn't happen by pretending everything is fine or by using comforting phrases to paper over cracks in our hearts. Growth happens when we sit with our pain and listen to what it's trying to teach us. When we honor every emotion, even the messy, uncomfortable ones. Here's where the trap of spiritual bypassing becomes most dangerous. It convinces us that the problem is always outside of ourselves. We may say things like, "That toxic person is just a reflection of negative energy I need to rise above," without ever questioning why we allow certain people to stay in our lives. We look outward, assuming that the key to peace is changing our environment, instead of looking inward and asking, "What boundaries do I need to create for my well-being?" Similarly, some people immerse themselves in spiritual teachings, memorizing quotes, attending retreats, and adopting rituals without ever embodying the deeper lessons those practices teach. They collect wisdom the way someone might collect souvenirs, external symbols of a journey that was never fully taken. So how do we avoid spiritual bypassing and walk a more authentic path? 1. Acknowledge your emotions fully. Instead of rushing to fix or reframe negative feelings, allow yourself to sit with them. Ask yourself, what am I really feeling? Why does this hurt? 2. Take responsibility for your growth. True spirituality isn't about blaming external circumstances or waiting for divine intervention. It's about asking, what can I do to show up for myself today? 3. Be wary of instant fixes disguised as wisdom. Phrases like, "let go and let the universe take control," can be powerful when combined with action and reflection. But used alone, they can become excuses to avoid accountability. Spirituality is a journey, not a shortcut. It's about embracing the fullness of our human experience, the joy and the sorrow, the light and the dark. It's about knowing that peace isn't the absence of struggle, it's the result of facing life with honesty and courage. In our quest for inner peace, it's tempting to bypass pain in favor of comfort. But remember, healing isn't linear, it's messy, it's raw, and it takes time. When we stop using spirituality as a way to escape and start using it as a way to awaken, we rediscover something profound. Our true power has always been within us. It's found not in avoiding life's storms, but in learning how to walk through them with grace. At the end of the day, no teaching, mantra, or ritual can replace the deep work of self-awareness and accountability. Spiritual tools can guide you, but they cannot do the work for you. When we stop hiding behind the light and begin to face our shadows, we become whole. We no longer need to lean on the lantern of external beliefs, because we've found the glow of wisdom within ourselves. True spirituality doesn't take you away from life, it takes you deeper into it. And when you're brave enough to face life as it is, That's when you become unshakable. The cost of dependency. Dependency, whether emotional, material, or spiritual, often begins innocently. It feels comforting, reassuring, even necessary. We lean on others during moments of pain. We seek material comforts to make life easier, and we turn to spiritual beliefs to find meaning in chaos. But when these supports become our foundation rather than our supplement, they come with a hidden cost. A price we rarely recognize until it's too late. What is the true cost of dependency? It's a slow erosion of our inner strength and self-trust. The more we rely on something external for our sense of stability, the more fragile we become when it's taken away. Imagine a bird that spends its whole life in a cage, convinced it cannot fly. The cage feels safe, predictable, and secure. But when that cage door is left open, the bird stays still, too afraid to take flight. That's what dependency does. It convinces us that we're not strong enough to face the unknown without our crutches. Consider someone who's emotionally dependent on their partner. They may say, "I can't live without you," and at first it sounds romantic, a testament to deep love. But when that person's identity becomes entwined with the relationship, their independence fades. Every argument feels like a life-threatening storm, and the mere idea of separation fills them with dread. When we make someone else responsible for our happiness, we give away our power. And if that person leaves, by choice or by fate, we're left shattered, not just grieving the loss of a relationship, but questioning our very sense of self-worth. Material dependency comes with its own costs as well. How often do we believe that our peace of mind depends on financial stability, a better car, or a bigger house? We think, once I have this, I'll finally feel secure. But no matter how much we accumulate, there's always the possibility of loss, a market crash, a sudden medical bill, an unexpected job loss. When our sense of security is tied to something so unstable, we live in quiet fear, trying to buy more comfort to shield us from life's unpredictability. But the truth is, no amount of possessions can make life completely safe. Even spiritual dependency, which feels noble on the surface, can be dangerous. Some people place blind faith in a guru, a religious leader, or a particular doctrine, believing that by following these teachings perfectly, they will be saved from suffering. But when we surrender our personal responsibility to external beliefs, we lose the ability to navigate our struggles with authenticity. Faith becomes a way to avoid life rather than engage with it. And when the person or belief system we placed our faith in fails us, or when doubt creeps in, directionless and betrayed. The cost of dependency isn't just loss, it's the gradual weakening of our resilience. Every time we place our happiness, stability, or peace in someone or something else's hands, we teach ourselves a dangerous lesson. I can't do this alone. We become like the blind boy in the story, trusting the lantern so completely that we forget our own ability to navigate the dark. But here's the thing, life will take things away from us. We'll experience breakups, financial hardships, failures, and even spiritual crises. And when that happens, the question isn't whether we'll face challenges. The question is whether we'll crumble when the external lights we've leaned on go out. The good news is that resilience isn't a fixed trait. It's something we can rebuild. It starts with recognizing that dependency is a choice we make, often unconsciously. We can choose to shift from reliance to empowerment, from fear to self-trust. How do we do that? 1. Embrace discomfort as a form of growth. Every time we resist the urge to run to external comforts and instead sit with our discomfort, we strengthen our ability to endure. 2. Reclaim responsibility for our emotions. Instead of saying, "I'm upset because they did this to me," try asking, "How can I take care of my feelings without blaming or depending on someone else?" 3. Appreciate material comforts, but don't worship them. Enjoy your favorite conveniences without making them essential for your happiness. The cost of dependency can be steep, but the reward of self-reliance is priceless. When we learn to trust ourselves, we're no longer afraid of what life might take away because we know that everything we truly need is already within us. When the lanterns go out and the night feels long, remember this: you are stronger than you think. You may not always be able to control what life gives or takes, but you can always control how you respond. And that response, that inner strength, is what will carry you through the darkest nights. So, the next time you find yourself reaching for a crutch, pause, breathe. Remind yourself that while support is welcome, your true power lies in your ability to rise on your own. Because when you learn to stand without leaning, you'll discover that the ground beneath you has always been solid, and that's a freedom no one can take away. The lantern within. There's a beautiful irony in the story of the blind boy and his lantern. Even though he couldn't see the light, he trusted it so completely that he stopped trusting himself. When the lantern went out, he felt powerless. Despite having spent his whole life navigating the world in darkness with strength and skill, this story is a reminder that while external lanterns can guide us, the most important light we can carry is the one that burns quietly within us. But how do we cultivate that inner light? Especially in a world that constantly tells us that we need something outside of ourselves to feel complete. More money, more recognition, more comfort, more love. How do we stop reaching for external validation and start trusting in our own strength? The first step is recognizing that you already have everything you need. Your ability to navigate life's challenges isn't something you need to find or buy. It's already within you, waiting to be rediscovered. Think about the hardest moment in your life, the moment when you thought, "I won't make it through this." And yet, here you are. You did make it. Maybe it wasn't graceful or perfect, but you found a way forward. That resilience, that quiet strength, was always yours. The lantern may have gone out, but the flame within you never did. However, just like a real flame, your inner light needs care and attention. It can be dimmed by fear, self-doubt, and constant comparison to others. So, how do we protect and strengthen that light? Here are 3 ways to reconnect with the lantern within. 1. Silence the noise to hear yourself. In a world filled with distractions, social media, endless to-do lists, and the constant opinions of others, it's easy to lose touch with our own intuition. We spend so much time absorbing the outside world that we forget to listen to what's happening inside us. Try creating moments of intentional quiet in your day. This doesn't mean you have to meditate for hours. Simply sit in silence for 5 minutes without checking your phone or turning on the TV. In those moments, ask yourself, what do I really feel? What do I truly need? The answers may surprise you. When we slow down, our inner wisdom has a chance to speak. 2. Build trust with yourself through small acts of courage. Trusting yourself isn't something that happens overnight. It's built through action. Every time you face a fear, make a difficult decision, or sit with discomfort instead of running from it, you strengthen your self-trust. Start small. Maybe it's saying no to something that doesn't feel right, even if it's uncomfortable. Maybe it's taking a leap on something you've always doubted you could do. Each time you honor your instincts, you remind yourself that you're capable. And over time, that inner voice, the one that says, "I've got this," grows louder. 3. Detach from outcomes and embrace the journey. One of the reasons we cling to external lanterns is because we fear failure. We tell ourselves that if we just follow the right plan, get the right advice, or have the right resources, everything will work out perfectly. But life doesn't work that way. The truth is, you can do everything right and still face setbacks, and that's okay. Your inner strength isn't about guaranteeing success. It's about knowing that you'll be okay, even if things don't go as planned. When you stop obsessing over the outcome and focus on showing up fully, you start to see failure not as a reflection of your worth, but as a necessary part of growth. When we trust our inner lantern, something powerful happens. We stop seeing ourselves as victims of our circumstances and start seeing ourselves as the authors of our lives. We realize that while we can't control everything that happens to us, we can control how we respond. And that response, the choice to keep moving forward even when the path is uncertain, is where true freedom begins. It's important to remember that leaning on others or enjoying comforts doesn't make you weak. It's okay to accept help, to seek joy, and to take refuge in moments of ease. But don't confuse those things with your source of strength. The lantern within you is not something anyone else can give or take away. It's the part of you that remains steady when everything else falls apart. So, when life's lanterns flicker out, don't panic, don't fear the dark. Instead, remind yourself, I've walked through shadows before, and I've always found my way. Your light is not something fragile, it's something eternal. And as you move forward, keep this truth close. No matter how uncertain the road ahead may seem, you carry everything you need within you. Your lantern may guide the way, but your inner flame is what keeps you going. And that flame, it's always been yours. Lesson. At the heart of today's story lies a simple but profound truth. The external lanterns we carry, whether they're people, possessions, or beliefs, are temporary. They can offer guidance and comfort, but they are not meant to replace the strength we already possess within. And yet, time and time again, we fall into the trap of dependency, forgetting that we are capable of standing on our own. Dependency whispers comforting lies. This is easier. This feels safe. This keeps the pain away. But when the things we rely on are taken from us, as they inevitably will be, we're forced to confront the truth we've been avoiding, that safety built on something external is fragile. True peace, true resilience can only be built from within. Consider the blind boy in our story. When he believed in the lantern more than himself, he lost touch with the very skills that had once made him capable. He trusted the idea of safety so completely that he became blind to reality. The lantern could go out at any moment, and when it did, he was unprepared. In many ways, we are all that boy. We place so much faith in the things that make us feel secure, our jobs, our routines, our relationships, that we forget to ask ourselves the harder question, who am I without these things? But this isn't a story meant to leave us feeling afraid or ashamed. Quite the opposite. It's a reminder that no matter how dependent we've become, no matter how much we've forgotten our strength, we can always return to ourselves. The process isn't always easy. It takes time, patience, and courage. But the journey back to our inner strength is one of the most rewarding we can ever take. So how do we begin that journey? How do we stop relying so heavily on the things outside of us and start nurturing the lantern within? It starts with awareness. Recognizing when you're leaning too heavily on something or someone. Ask yourself, am I seeking validation because I'm afraid of trusting my own judgment? Am I holding onto this relationship, job, or habit because I truly need it or because I fear what life looks like without it? If this comfort disappeared tomorrow, would I feel lost? These questions aren't meant to make you feel guilty. They're meant to help you reclaim your independence. When you start being honest about your dependencies, you'll find that you're stronger than you thought. The next step is practice, building resilience through small acts of self-trust. You don't need to overhaul your entire life overnight. Start with one thing. Make a decision on your own without seeking reassurance. Face an uncomfortable moment without reaching for a distraction. Allow yourself to feel a difficult emotion without rushing to fix it. These small moments of courage build the foundation for lasting strength. And finally, remember that letting go of dependency doesn't mean rejecting connection, comfort, or support. It simply means recognizing that these things are complements, not replacements, for your own inner power. You can lean on others without giving away your self-worth. You can enjoy comforts without making them essential to your peace of mind. and you can follow spiritual guidance without abandoning your own instincts and accountability. In the end, the lesson of the lantern is this: external supports are helpful, but they are not permanent. The real light, the one that will guide you through life's darkest nights, is the one you cultivate within yourself. It is built through your experiences, your reflections, your triumphs, and even your failures. So as you move forward, ask yourself, am I carrying this lantern, or is it carrying me? And if you ever find that your light goes out, take a breath. You are not lost. You are not broken. The lantern within you, the quiet strength of your own soul, cannot be extinguished. The journey to self-reliance isn't about isolation, it's about empowerment. It's about knowing that while life may hand you storms and take away your external comforts, it can never take away the wisdom you've gained or the resilience you've built. Thank you for taking this journey with me today. If this story resonated with you, share it with someone who might need a reminder of their own inner strength. And as always, be kind to yourself. Trust yourself. Your inner lantern is brighter than you know. Until next time, stay grounded, stay radiant, and trust in the light within you.